Welcome back to the channel. Today we started a new build. It's a 2020 Honda CRV Touring Edition, and it's all-wheel drive. This thing has only 14,600 miles on it, and we have everything in the shop here because, well, winter's finally over, so now here in Illinois, it's tornado season. So I was out running a tornado last night, and I wanted to get it in here before it got hit with a bunch of hail. So we just backed the truck and trailer and everything in here, so now it's time to pull it out and get it off the trailer. I did have it charging up on the way home from Des Moines, Iowa, so hopefully it starts, and if it does, we'll bring it back in here and maybe get the doors open, see everything we're gonna need to get this little CRV back on the road. You know, yesterday when I picked this thing up, it was 82 degrees. Yeah, that's nice. First thing, let's get this out of our way. Yeah, that's right. Somebody got a fancy sharp razor blade. I'm not ready to work on it right now, but I do want to see what it looks like in here, see just how bad it is going to be. Looks like it definitely needs an outer panel, so I'm going to try and get this door open with as little work as possible. We'll see how that goes. See if the Sledge-O-Matic will do it. That wasn't so bad. Ship it. Our hinge is actually split right here. I'm gonna hammer it, see if I can rock it forward a little bit. Maybe it'll close and open a little easier. Or maybe it won't do anything. And that won't close at all. Guess we'll get rid of the rest of our airbag here. These fancy sharp razor blades make me want to just cut everything. Looks better already. We'll disconnect our battery cable that we had charging it up on our trailer. Just attached it to the terminals. And we'll tighten the terminals back up.
using an electric ratchet just to annoy the tool experts.
So let's see what restraint parts we're going to need. Clearly we're going to need a curtain airbag and a seat airbag. I actually thought we were going to need a driver's seatbelt, and we still might, but it's not locked up. So that's kind of a shock. It was hanging outside the door, so I did know that the door opened and closed at one point. In the pictures it was just down there, so I thought it was locked up and I'd need a set of seatbelts. I priced it out, so let's put the scanner on there and see what circuits are open and if we can clear out the module, and if not, then we'll send all of our stuff over to my friends at My Airbags and they'll take care of it, but we'll see if we need to do that. Lots of dash emojis on this thing. Hopefully it's, well, because of the airbags. Any day now. Left airbag inflator. Driver's seatbelt tensioner. Okay, so the driver's seatbelt did deploy. It just didn't lock up. So, well, we still have to send it out. No big deal. And the curtain airbag. We kind of do that. Okay, so we'll have to pull our seatbelt out and usually forget to put the window down. And it ends up biting me later. Guess that looks about right.
I'm trying to line up the bolts that hold the regulator to the glass with the holes that are in the door to access them. Hopefully I got it right. And now we can pull our door check off. And through the magic of video, in case you haven't been able to tell, I am ready to work on it now because it's been a couple days. We need to disconnect the electrical connector for our door before we forget. We'll just use a pick to pry the boot out of the B-pillar. And once it's out of there, we can press the little clip and unplug it. Tuck the other half of the wiring harness back in there and try to stuff the part for the door in there. Not a whole lot of room in there. The door is folded over. I'm going to try to get this lower hinge off. A shallow socket and our primitive caveman ratchet is about the only way we're going to get to these bolts. Once they loosen up, they actually come out by hand, so that made it nice.
12 points. Finally have a use for them.
That is another use besides rounding the heads off of every other bolt. Now that we got that rear bolt out of there, we can take the front one off using our little more advanced electric tools. The reason I didn't unbolt the door from the hinge was I couldn't even see those bolts. The door was folded over them.
Let's see if I can do this without the door ending up on my toes.
Now we'll hold on to the back of the door and pull our last bolt out of there. Toss it on the front seat and probably lose it.
Luckily it's a Honda door, so it's not heavy.
Now that our back door is off, we can move on to the front door, which is a little bit more of a struggle. Luckily the car that hit this thing peeled our door back, give us a little access door for getting to these wires. Otherwise we'd have to do it inside the fender or open up the door and do it inside the door jamb. Either way is easy. We got it out of there. Now we can just squeeze the tabs and unplug our plugs. Use the pick to squeeze the tabs because I don't have little fingers. Stuff them back in our A-pillar. Never to see them again. And now we'll pull our door check out of here. I'm not going to worry about unbolting the door check and dropping it down in our door because we're just taking this door off. It's never going back on again. It won't be in our way. And we can start unbolting our door. This one we're going to leave the hinges on the pillar. Just take the door off. I'm hoping that the hinges aren't bent and we can just reuse them. We'll find out when we put our new door up there. Might just have to adjust them a little bit. use a ratcheting wrench. Unbolt them. Start at the bottom, work your way up. And you don't have to hold on to the door. Leave the very top one for the last. And then we have to hold on to the door. We're on to our last one. And we skipped the gym today, so we got to do our door curls. Every day is arm day. It's a light day. It's just a Honda door. Now we can pull our headrest out. There's just a little tab you press in. We'll pop the little cover off for the feet for our seat. And then we can see our bolts. Honda didn't think it was necessary to put a cover on the inside. Once the front of the seat's totally unbolted, we can move our seat forward so we can get to the rear bolts. Now we can unbolt our rear bolts. They're hidden inside the track. There's little plastic covers on the back, but they stay with the seat. Now we can slide our seat back again. We're going to center it over the tracks just to make it easier to store and get through the door opening. That looks about right. Tilt the seat back. Start unplugging all of our harnesses. There's a few of them in there. And our seat's ready to come out of there. We can pull our sill plate off the front door. It's a little wiggle and pull. Make sure our clip stayed in it. And we'll pull the sill plate out of the rear. Also using the wiggle and pull method. I'm ashamed to admit, but I have fallen off the wagon. Reset the counter. It has now been 0 days since our last workplace cleaning incident. I want to get the rest of this glass out of here and maybe some of the dirt. There's not nearly as much glass as there should be in here, so maybe one of the clean freaks got to it before I did. Now that I'm out of my comfort zone and working in a safe, clean working environment, we're going to continue to dig out our seatbelt. So we'll pop our B-pillar trim off here at the bottom. Just a little wiggle and pull. And then we can see the bottom of our seatbelt. Unplug the tensioner on one side. Everything requires either little fingers or a pick on these Hondas. And I don't have little fingers, so looks like pick it is. Unbolt the top bolt, because that's the socket we had handy. And then we can unbolt the bottom. And our retractor's out of here. Sounds like a maraca. We need to peel the carpeting back so we get to our tensioner. Peel back a little bit more. And a better angle so you guys can see what I'm doing. We did unplug it, and now we can get our ratcheting wrench in there. I like to use the electric ratchet, but I guess I'm paid by the hour now. You know, you wouldn't have that problem if you used the electric ratchet, right? Oh well. So our seatbelt's off at the bottom. Then we got to take the top part off. I'm going to pop this little cover off. Just get a pick behind it, release the little tabs, and then we can unbolt it. Now that the seatbelt's out, we can box it all up, get it ready to go to my airbags. Pull the top of this B-pillar trim down, just a little wiggle and pull. Make sure we didn't leave any clips up there. And then we can get our rear seat out of here. Pull the little covers off so we can see the feet. And unbolt them. Just pull out on the sides and then they slide down. In order to disconnect the shoulder harness for the center seat belt, you just push this little tab in on the side, and you can use a screwdriver, but I'm too lazy to walk back to the toolbox, so I just use the end of the buckle and push in on the tab, and it pops right out. And we can fold the seats down about seatbelt's not in our way. We'll pull the cargo shade down. Then we can pull these little tie-down hooks out of here. There's a little cap you pop open, and then there's a screw inside there. Pop the cap off the other one, and unscrew that one. And then we can remove this little floor panel piece. We'll move our pile of parts here to a new location so we can pull our spare tire cover out. Pull this little trim piece out. It's got a little tab you have to lift up on. And it just slides out of there. And that allows us to see the bolts for the back of our seat. So we can unbolt those and lift it out of our way. But it's still connected. There's a cable that releases the back of the seat. And it comes from this little handle here. There's a little cover behind the handle. We'll pop that off. And then there's 2 screws back there to hold our trim panel on. I would have showed you disconnecting the other end of this cable from the seat and taking the seat out, but the camera decided to record absolutely nothing. Not for lack of pressing the button, just because it was having technical difficulty. So you'll have to trust me, I took the seat out. As you can see, it's not there, so somebody did. Now we can pull our trim panel off of our quarter, lift it up. There's some little rubber plugs that hold it in at the bottom, and a little wiggle and pull, and we'll pop it out of our quarter panel. Pull it out of the upper quarter trim, and there's a little cargo hook in the back. You just squeeze the tab and twist it. It pops out of there, and now it's ready to come out. Well, not quite. We still have an electrical connector for our light back here. Now it's ready to come out. Or not. Now we have to disconnect that cable. It's clipped into the floor. That's the one that was connected to the seat. Now our trim panel's really out. Now we can pull our little push pins out of the floor and peel back our carpeting and see what surprises await us under here. I'm looking for buckles, any split seams, any tears, anything that says that this pillar moved a whole lot more than I thought it did. So now we can pull our trim panel off the top so that we can get our quarter trim off. So wiggle and pull. A lot more wiggle and pull. Feed our seatbelt through the little slot and throw that in a pile. We'll pull the rest of this trim panel down so it's not hanging in our way. We're going to have to take it down anyway when we change our headliner. We'll pull our kick panel out. And we can fold up our carpeting. Get a good look at everything. And there are no split seams. There are no buckles. So we're looking good. Everything's isolated to just the B-pillar itself. And a little on the C-pillar. We might have gotten lucky on this one. We're definitely going to need to change that outer panel, and we'll see what awaits us on the inside. I'm thinking we're going to have to change that inner B-pillar. I think we can save our C-pillar here. We're just going to have to move that striker around a little bit. It's made of Play-Doh-ium. Should move pretty easy. We can remove our little door buttons, since we're going to have to paint in here and get this piece off of here. I'll do it now, that way I don't have to stop in the middle of whatever I'm doing to grab a screwdriver to pull it out later. We'll pull the rear one out. I don't think we're going to do any work up here, but we're definitely going to have to paint it. And the wiring harness, we unclipped all the clips. I'm not going to show you that because, well, there's not much to see, but this is what I did. Just use a pick to squeeze the little tabs that stick up a little bit and pop them out of there. It takes a little time, but if you spend a little extra time taking it apart, it makes putting it together that much easier. And since I'm the guy that's got to put it back together, I want it to be easier. And it's nice when you put the wiring harness back in and it stays in there securely and not flopping all around with loose clips. Now that our wiring harness is out of the way, We'll move on to taking off the wheel opening molding. There's a couple of screws that also hold the wheel liner in. We're going to pull those out. And there's some two-sided tape on the front edge of this. So we're just going to slide our little spatula in there, break the two-sided tape loose. And pop it out of there. We missed a little part. And there's some clips. We'll just put a wiggle and pull. They pop out of the quarter. They're pretty friendly. And the very last one has a tab that goes through the bumper. If you yank on it, it will tear. So just reach back there and push the tab in behind the wheel liner, and it pops out of there. And we saved all of our clips. Now we're going to use our magic eraser to pull the rest of our two-sided tape off of here. A lot easier than using our fingers. These are available in my Amazon store. Make your life a whole lot easier. There's a little damage down here where the door smashed it. It was hidden by that molding. We'll just put the molding back on and never speak of that again. We don't even have to fix it. But more than likely, I'll just put that outer panel on high enough that I can just cut out all the damaged area and still don't have to fix it. There's a little better look at our damage on our sills. It looks like it's just isolated to that outer panel. Don't know how much the inner moved just yet. It definitely rolled back the hinge mount there, so there is going to be some damage on that inner piece. We're going to hold our extension off for our cowl screen. We're eventually going to have to take the fender off, but we'll leave it on for now, and we can throw our door up there and see how it fits. Just clips into the fender and clips into our cowl screen. We'll pull out this little closeout panel. Little tab on the tower, and we'll pry it out of there. Now we can lift our CRV up in the air. We're going to get it ready to mount up to the frame rack. We'll pull our ramps out of here. There used to be one piece a long time ago. Something to be said for the drive-on racks. A lot easier to clamp things up. Now we'll put our stands underneath and set it down on the stands. We're ready to put our clamps on. Okay, so we're going to order our seatbelt repair. There's a few ways to navigate through this and order the parts, but I just searched by vehicle. It's pretty easy. The CRV 2020, and this will list everything that they'll do for it. So we are needing seatbelt pretensioner repair. Is it dual stage? Because it has the retractor has a charge in it, and also the tensioner on the bottom. So there's actually two. Not locked this time. And we were able to clear out our code, so we don't need the module reset. Okay. View our cart. And that's all we need. So now we can check out and it'll print out our shipping label. We can slap it on our box and drop it off any FedEx location, and they'll let me know when it's all done and ready to pay for, and then they'll send it back.
So that's as far as we're going to go for today. We got it all apart. We can see what we need to see on the inside. Next time we'll get it all clamped up and start pulling on it and get a little further into it, see what we need to replace. This pillar is not repairable per Honda's instructions, so we're probably going to have to replace it. So we'll do that next time. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you then.